Yo, it is August 8th, 2019. This is the ES 2000 tick chart. And it was an all up day today. I just wanted to show you guys what that kind of looks like when I'm watching Bookmap, my order flow machine. All right, so I want to show you what I'm looking at here. These little dots printing out, I usually don't pay much attention to those. There's rare occasions that I do, but that is just a visual representation of volume of trades, volume of sells and buys. Buys, of course, are green, sells are red. Over here is what I pay more attention to, and this is what's sitting in the book, the volume in the book. You can see there's an outsized size, 1349 here compared to mostly what is about 250 everywhere else. So what do you know? If you're watching this in order flow, is something's going to happen here at 2902. Unfortunately, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. You don't know if it's going to reject and crash. You don't know if it's going to eat it and shoot up. But you do know that this is the area of interest, and that is invaluable to know. So I don't even know what happens here. I didn't watch today. I saw that it was an all-up day. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to play this out for a few minutes, and just so you can see order flow kind of in action here. And if I have any commentary at all, we will get it out. Down here, of course, is the tick chart, the TICK cumulative NYSE tick chart. And so what do we got printed out over here? 837. Since this is a replay data, the time stamp down here is completely wrong. Don't pay attention to this time stamp. This is giving me the time currently, not the time that it was actually printing out. But the NinjaTrader time is correct. So this is 8:37 a.m. Central Time. So let's go down to the tick chart. It is all downhill. So we know that I think stuff bounces at 8:51, and that is when the real action begins. It's about 8:51 when the big uptrend happens. So let's speed this up. And you can now this is going to be condensed, obviously, order flow, so it's going to be a lot faster. But you see what happens there. That 338 came in. That was quick. 338 came in, and then it ate it. Totally ate that liquidity, so let's see what it does from there. It didn't give much reaction to it. There's the down from that. Where'd you go? There you go. Oh, that's right. It ranges out here. So we bounce around. You can see we've even grown up here. We're at 1400s now. There's, a pile of liquidity up here. And you'll see this a lot on uptrend days, is that, so on like a big downtrend, what'll happen a lot of times is this 1400 will be the only thing up here. Now you don't get something that obvious very often. And then it'll come up, it'll maybe even break through it a little bit, but then that'll be all she wrote, and then it'll crash. And it could crash all day from there if it's this big of a number. But on long uptrend days, a lot of times what you'll see is that you'll have this big number, and then you'll have more big numbers, and then it just keeps going. And actually, if this was live, you would have information all the way up. So unfortunately, we can't see what it totally looked like live. You get limited information on the playback. So we stop at 2904. I mean, once it comes up here, we'll start printing out more. So here's something interesting. So 426, so you see you get a big bout of liquidity there, of traders that wanted to trade. It ate those guys up. But then nothing much happens. So like if I was playing this live, that might have confused me a little bit. Usually you're expecting some move in one direction or another if that happened. But if I'm following the tick chart, no information really is printed out down here yet. 851, so we've got, let's speed it up even more. And I would tell you that at the very least, because this number was up here, I would be expecting at some point for price to head that way to test that area. And if it didn't test that area at all, it would really surprise me. But of course I know the future, so I know it does test that area. All right, so 851. So this is about when we start the big uptrend. So let's see if we can see anything of note and order flow. And sometimes you can't. It's not going to tell you everything that happens. Sometimes shit just moves. But like I said, I would have, for sure, I would be looking for some sort of test here. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how far back it's going to pull before it does that. But that's what I'd be waiting on. All right, let's get this moving. So starting to work its way up. And I want you to see what happens once we get to that area of interest. So it wants to get there. And honestly, this might be a little bit tricky, you know. This is the top of the day, and it's coming up to this huge batch of sellers. So you'd have to be patient to wonder if this is going to kick it down, or whether the buyers are going to win, if they're going to have enough energy to push through all of that action. Boom. And then it just takes it out. You see immediately more guys popped in up here and wants to go up and get those. And unfortunately, we can't see up into what would have been printing up here in real time. That's a shame. All right, so that was the big run up at the beginning. You knew that at some point it had to go test those amount of sellers. Like the market's going to have to do that. It's kind of like a magnet. In a way, you know, like magnets sometimes can attract or they can reject. And that's the hard part of order flow, is trying to figure out, okay, is this magnet attracting right now or rejecting? But typically if it's going to reject, you have to test it first. All right, we're really going to speed this up, but you see we haven't tested this up here either. So you're still kind of looking for that area to get tested. You see these kind of guys popped in. They're very briefly, but there was a big buyers that popped in there. You got more buyers popped in down here. You're hoping that at the very least that's the support if it comes back. You don't know if it's going to come back, but if it does, you're hoping that is your support level. So you would have your stop somewhere here if that's what you were worried about. But it just goes up and takes those out. More guys pile in, more guys pile in. And I want you to look down here at the tick chart. So the tick chart, it doesn't get much past, where is this sitting at? Doesn't get much past 100. That's about all the farther down it goes. So you know there's just not much pressure to go the other direction of the trend. So you know you've got a lot of support to keep this trend going. And that lasts for a long time. Lasts till about 10 o'clock at least. So that should make you feel pretty good. Like these up days, you know, I'll be honest, like when I was doing pure price action, these kind of up days would terrify me because I had the magical ability to pick the only big pullback. You know, it doesn't pull back, it doesn't pull back, it doesn't pull back. As soon as I buy, that's the big enough pullback to stop me out. Or that's the actual reversal for the day. It was like magic. Like I just knew how to be the worst trader possible in that situation. But it feels a lot better with these order flow tools. You've got all this up here still that hasn't been tested, and it's got the momentum going. So you hope that it just kind of continues on the way it continues. And we've got 10 times the speed going right now, so there's a lot of stuff that you're not going to see. It's just too fast. Now we're on 15 times speed, just so you don't have to sit here all day. Goes up, takes those guys out. Keeps going. You got more guys piled in at 29.13. I mean, this is just how it goes for so much of the day. And if you'll let me real quick, I think there was this huge move at 9:30 on the natural gas. So I'm going to pop over to that real quick just to see what that, if there was any indicator on natural gas. Yeah. So natural gas for the day, see it had that spike. I mean, so this is where I was talking about where you've got the rejection or the attraction. So it attracts it for a while, it doesn't end up testing it. It doesn't make it down all the way. And then it just spits it out and just rejects it. But you can see how much more people were down here compared to everywhere else. So you knew that that had to be some sort of point where something was going to happen. Now, unfortunately, you don't always get the obvious where it, you know, it touches things exactly, and you certainly didn't get that in this situation. And then on natural gas, we're still going. It comes back to this kind of resistance area, and then it starts bouncing up again. So in that situation, it nearly touched it and rejected off of it. So that's the way order flow goes. Let's go back to the ES. We've broken through that final band of thick sellers. The buyers have been in control all day long. And now there's nothing terribly obvious. You've got, you know, it's a little bit thicker down here, but there's nothing that's, there's nothing that really stands out, you know. There's a lot of these kind of 300, 400 numbers. There's nothing that's up in like the 700s or the 1000s that we had earlier. And you can see on the chart that it kind of petered out around this area at 10 o'clock. And then you get this big band of sellers here. They don't last too long, but it was enough to push it down just a little bit further until those buyers came in. But there's not a whole lot going on either side. So I just want to show you this one last thing on the order flow. So you see, come on, computer. You see how thick this was, how highlighted this was. That means there's a higher number there. And then as soon as it blasted through all that and you didn't have it anymore, like that had just been popping in, popping in, popping in, popping in every time. And it just kept wanting to go to it, go to it, go to it. It's like a magnet sucking it there every time. And then once that was done, it was kind of exhausted itself. And then that's when the pullback happened. Now it came down here. The sellers gave it one last hope right here, but then the buyers had their little resistance play here. And you can see all that come in, and then it continues the trend on up. You know, easier said than done by far, but that's the quick and dirty on what I see when I'm following Bookmap. Don't know if that helps you guys at all. If it does, let me know in the comments. If you want to know about more about Bookmap, let me know in the comments. But that's it for the day. Happy trading.